Anyways, let's move on to a less crazy topic. Why do you think constitutional monarchies are better than democracies?
I'm sick of you having reign of this one. It's constitutional monarchies on Wednesdays and the other one on Thursdays. There, I said it. No, it had to be said. No, I'm sorry. Miss Love, come back. Surely we can sort this out. See, this is the problem with democracy. Everyone gets a voice. Yous have held me back long enough. All right, I'm getting some tea. Ali, you just talk about why you like Pink Floyd for the next couple of minutes.
Where? I mean,
something I can fucking chirp.
they're the only ones that are bringing down the wall. Wait, where the fuck did you guys fuck off? I really want to know what you're reading because Jordan's been reading this book. Hold up.
I'm just getting some tea. I'm not running away.
Isn't this the nerdiest thing you've ever seen?
What?
This book with Jordan is reading.
Yeah, dude.
But come on,
So good.
the fact that this book exists shows how truly impressive Rome was. Don't you reckon?
Hold it up
that
for me.
There's a book about public opinion and politics in the late Roman Republic. This is an ancient society, and we have enough information to what they're talking about. A 50-year period in this
Yeah.
on this really niche subject.
It is pretty...
Like, God,
Classic,
I
classic.
just can't give them enough kudos. To quote Marge, I just think they're neat.
And that's very sweet of you.
So what's this about? Why is it better? What are the strong points? Give us a brief of what you've been
I'll
thinking
give you this.
about.
This is just an alternate history that I was reading about that was saying in World War One, I can't remember the monarch's name because, don't quote me on like the specifics of this. I'm just going to give you the general argument.
Slim Jim Phantom.
Slim Jim Phantom the first.
Miss Love's contribution.
Thank you very much for that, Miss. I'm sorry. No wonder I didn't forget it. It's just such a long name, these Austrians. Have a nice Anglo name, Jim.
Jim.
Yeah, so Slim Jim, pretty much, he was working out, before the US entered, a peace deal between the competing powers in World War One, and apparently it was all going ahead, and the war was going to end years before it actually did end, and then the US decided, oh no, hang on, we can sell a lot of weapons in this conflict, and we can gain a lot of power and influence in Europe if we just sweep in. So they prolonged the war. Whereas the constitutional monarchs, because none of them wanted to be fighting, they all knew each other, and obviously it was their backyard. It was World War One. I'll give you this, right? Like, it may have been a little bit better if it wasn't happening. And so he was just coming between all of them, hammering out a deal that was going to save face for the Germans, for the British, for the French, and they were all on board with it. They were just kind of figuring out the details. Then the US swept in, the war was prolonged, millions more people died, and then the US had influence in European politics. And then they started pushing this notion of democracy. Why did they want influence in that? Why did they? Because before that, democracy was pretty much an unknown, unheard of thing, really. There was a few countries on earth that were democratic. All of a sudden, this was all the rage.
Wait, when was this?
World War One.
World War One. Okay.
This was all the rage. And he's just arguing that the reason that they wanted democracies is the same thing that I'm always talking about. It's just easy to corrupt them. It's easy to gain influence and to get what you want as a foreign power in that country. Whereas if you have something like a constitutional monarch network, absolute monarch network, whatever, like a monarchy. If you have a monarchic network in there, there is an established power base that is there. You have channels of communication like you do, like you did have in Europe, and those things just break down as soon as you include all of these things. And that's kind of phase one of how an empire like the US works, is that they realize, if we make all of these countries democratic, we can run an empire behind the scenes. We don't really have to have a military presence there. We can, and they do, but they can also just control a puppet who runs that country. That was a lot harder beforehand and like it would have been better for Europe. And the other thing that they were saying is if you had that constitutional monarchy in, you wouldn't have had all of these radical ideas like communism and Nazism running through, and you wouldn't have a World War II. Europe would be in much better shape than it is today. It really was an EU before that. You know? Like, all of these things have made Europe a lot worse. Like, having a second world war was not good for Europe. The Cold War wouldn't have happened.
So you're saying democracy, the idea of democracy. Is that what you're saying?
The idea of democracy, as he's arguing, and I'm really down this rabbit hole now where I'm just realizing, no, I've just been conditioned to think that this is the best form of government. And when I kind of argue with people about it, they just go, well, as Winston Churchill says, you know, democracy is the worst form of government apart from all the others. Oh, well, that's a nice little Oscar Wilde-esque quip, but I don't really think that that's true anymore. I think that there's numerous different little levels of politics and like other ways of controlling a country. And say something like China, for instance, when people say it's a dictatorship, as you know, that is a really gross simplification of how China works. It really is one of the most impressive governments, if not the most impressive government.
It doesn't make them amazing, but we're basically just talking about the efficiency.
We're talking about the efficiency here, and we're also just saying, like, I honestly think that the reason that we're so pro-democracy is because we've been conditioned. And really, when you push someone, I'd like to be convinced otherwise, but honestly, every time that I do, you get very simplistic answers, like, everyone has a say. If everyone had a say, I really don't think that Scott Morrison and Gladys Berejiklian would be leaders in Australia today.
But dude, think about this. What if Scott Morrison becomes the fucking monarch? That would suck balls, man. At least we have hope right now.
Yeah, but I'm saying that if it was like a pre-World War I scenario, Scott Morrison would not be the monarch. Scott Morrison is a puppet for the US. He serves their interests down the line and of huge detriment to our own. He's completely just destroyed trade in this country.
So what you're basically saying is that democracies are really volatile.
I think that they are designed to keep an oligarchy in power for as long as possible, and they do that very, very well.
But what does the alternative look like? Because I agree with you in the sense that, look, the Chinese system, whatever, is great, but I think it's great for them. I personally don't think it's great for us.
Why? Yeah, because
look, imagine telling Chinese do really fucked up, not fucked up shit when they want to get something done. Like right now, they're building the biggest dam in the world, which is on the fucking highest mountain in the. It's one of the most insane kind of infrastructure project. However, and they're able to do it because they can kind of muscle their way through. With us, I don't know if our population, all of us, would be on board for like.
There's a lot of reasons why China.
I don't know.
We're not that passive, is what I'm saying.
To counter that, I'm just going to quote the Chinese restaurant owner in Lithgow who said during the bushfires, there will be no bushfire in China. They would say everyone get bucket and put out fire.
But there's a reason
that's a better system.
But there's a reason they can do that.
What?
There's a lot of factors.
Their population, like I said,
they're racially homogenous. This is cultural.
Well, we're racially
but I think that they have
homogenous too.
set up a system of government where, okay, you cannot the fact that they have dictators or whatever, but like those dictators have to go through a rigorous vetting process to even get to the position where they're dictators. Like you have to start out as a block organizer there. Okay. That's the base level entry into politics. You actually have to have experience to get to where you are. Whereas here, you get fucking John Barilaro, and he stays in for a decade, and he'll probably stay in for more.
That is true.
He's the dumbest cunt in the country. In China, there is no way that a deputy premier of one of their states, their highest education level, would be a Cert 4 that they didn't complete.
But what he's saying is it's not just transferable like that. It's not just like...
Are you saying that we can elect a king? Like, how does that work?
It's my point that I'm saying, which is that you think that you want more democracy. I don't think that you do. That is what crippled Rome, and that's what moved into it being an imperial power, is that the whole point of a democracy is to just create all of these checks and balances so that the oligarchy can just influence it at any level and just stop one fulcrum there. And if that fails, and they've got another fulcrum that they can pull to get their way. Whereas, as I'm always using as a prime setup example, at least get rid of the Senate. Can we just democratize it to that level? We don't need two parliaments.
I agree.
Okay, yeah,
You know,
we can
at
get
the
on board with
very
that.
least,
Well, we
there's
can
things
go.
that you can do. And the thing is, this might be different with this audience because they are actually politically engaged. But most people aren't politically engaged. Most people shouldn't really be in control of a democracy. A lot of the time when I speak to people about politics, you know what a usual response of people that isn't this audience? It's too much thinking. I'm sure that Scott Morrison's doing a good job. He's just had a hard run. They don't want to be involved in it.
Okay, what
For
do
the average punter on the street, what do they want? They want services. And what do you get under a Liberal government? You have a system of bureaucracy that is, thanks to the Stig actually, has been giving me a lot of notes on this.
The Stig.
You have a bureaucracy that is being hollowed out from the inside. And what's the next stage after that? You get a country like Pakistan. Really, what divides a third world nation from a first world nation is the bureaucracy. But you say it all the time.
No, I
like,
say it, I'm
dude,
kidding,
I
I'm kidding.
honestly think Imran Khan, I think that if he had a competent bureaucracy in his pocket, he could be known as
Actually,
one of the greatest leaders of the 21st century.
He makes a very similar point from you, but except that he doesn't say that like me as king. He says, because Pakistan's political system is exactly like Australia's, like it's the Westminster democratic system. And he says that we need to move towards a presidential system where you need to centralize authority a little bit more because my hands are tied. So you could potentially argue that for Australia, that if we move towards a presidential system, maybe we could avoid some of some of the volatility that exists within the structure.
Yeah, I think that something that I'm coming to a conclusion to, and I hate labels, I don't even like using words like monarchy and democracy, but all I'm saying is I think China is a lot more democratic than you think it is, and I think we're a lot less democratic than you think we are.
That's true, but we should still make the point clear that we are less democratic than you think we are, and China is more democratic. However, we are still more democratic than China, and that needs to be said.
Yeah.
We still are.
But which one gets better results?
Well, that's a different point altogether.
But there are other factors to that. But yeah,
There is other factors to it, that's true.
That's
but
all I'm saying.
The system of government that they have set up is truly impressive.
But I still say for them, look, it's the same argument that a lot of these Western intellectuals make. Like when they say like, oh, democracy should be everywhere, and then rational people go like, it's not a one fit policy for everyone. Every place is different. And that is true as well. Like you can't just tell China to be democratic. They have their own system and has developed over thousands of years.
Yeah.
However, we also have our own system that has developed over a long period of time as well. And I think we can't just adopt another system altogether.
No, we can't adopt another system altogether. That's true. But look, the more that I've been reading about the late Roman Republic, the more you realize this is just history repeating itself. Like we are on a decline, and what has happened with the bureaucracy in this country, thanks to a democratically elected government, that's not going to be fixed, ever. The culture has been changed. You're talking about millions of years of experience of how to run the government that has just been purged collectively. All of these experts that have just been completely outsourced to the private sector, this is not going to be fixed. The Labor Party might be able to put the manpower into these institutions so that they can run at some level, but they're not going to be running at the same level that they once did, because you don't have those experienced bureaucrats teaching other bureaucrats how to be experienced. I'll give you another example. I was talking to a friend of mine who is a bureaucrat. I can't use any names. But he had the opportunity to go up and be a senior bureaucrat. But he's in middle management, and he's in middle management by choice because he knows that if he goes up to senior bureaucracy, he's just answerable to the minister, and all they do is implement exactly what the minister wants. And what does the minister want? He wants exactly what the consultants want. He wants what that private bureaucracy wants, and everything that they want is fucked. Really, he is just saying that all we have become is publicly funded implementers of a private company's wishes. That's what the Liberals have done. And when he's in middle management, he can win some of the victories. That is a sad state of affairs.
That is pretty brutal.
That is not what is happening in China.
It's
No
definitely
way.
not an optimal system. That is true. But anyways, we are out of time.
Are we?
Well, we can still go on for like 5 more minutes, but I'm
How the
just
fuck
too
are you
afraid
reading?
of this talk.
Nah,
Why?
Don't be freaked. Who gives a come on, like Christ.
What do
Freedom
you
of
guys
speech, mate. Look it up.
You can look it through. You can look through here. Miss Love entertained the audience while Jordan goes through some of the comments. I haven't read them.
Okay. Well, I got a question. How the fuck are you reading this? Jesus Christ. Let me just read a paragraph. Problems could arise when the audience was already won over by the opponents. In this case, Cicero advised firstly to dismantle the argument that had captivated the people. Expressing perplexity and astonishment was another option, mixed with doubts about which part of the speech to attack first. This self-reliance would impress the listeners. Quintilian also worried about a judge won over by public opinion. He therefore suggested 2 ways to destroy those preconceived ideas. Number 1. Fuck me.
I think we've got a new Bible.
What's
We're going to
the?
have to start reading from that instead of Curly.
Miss Love's gonna kill himself.
Shit.